All right, so I was reading this Terry Farrell interview or article from this magazine, real old magazine from uh, 1999. So yeah, from way back, about 15 years ago or whatever. Yeah, I was reading. I left off at. In a way, it would be cool to be in Nicole's position, notes Farrell, who met DeBoer briefly during a visit to the set. She'll be on the show for a year and get a real taste of it. On the other hand, I don't envy her. I feel for her being brand new, being around people who've been with each other for 6 years and who have their own group dialogue. Meanwhile, Farrell is busy with Becker. I'm having a great time now. I don't miss having to get up early or having to learn that Star Trek dialogue. I do miss my friends. I miss Karen Everson and Michael Westmore so much because they were in my face every day. I mean, who shares more intimate stuff with you than the people who do your hair and makeup daily? It also doesn't feel like such a loss because there's a natural tendency to detach yourself from anything you know you're leaving. As soon as you see the end coming, you start to pull back. You don't even have to think about the detachment. It just starts to happen. We all do that. I wouldn't trade a second of DS9, Terry Farrell says. I needed every last minute of it to learn from it. It was a great training ground for me, but I'm not sorry I made the decision to leave. Even before I got Becker, I felt I was making the right choice, and now I know I did. And that was the end of that article. Yeah. And that was the end of that article. This is just some other stuff about Babylon 5 or what have you. Or some of the other TV shows, sci-fi stuff. Yeah, at the time after Star Trek and Star Wars and a lot of that stuff, was coming out or came out and stuff on TV, a lot of this other, sci-fi stuff was, tried to mimic or, mimic DS9 or, some of the, other TV stuff, space, the space theme, and Babylon 5, Battlestar, what was it called? Battlestar Galactica? Yeah, they were trying to pick up on that and get some of the market share or viewers and stuff. So yeah. This is just some of the other things that were in this magazine. '90s things. Back in the '90s, oh yeah. Old school stuff. back when they had, this is back in the day when they had Windows 95 and 98 and so forth. Yeah. That was hot stuff back then. Windows 95, the huge box, or a TV set is what it looked like. Oh wow, this is another movie or thing that LeVar Burton was directing. It's kind of cool. Yeah, Windows 95 and 98. Yeah, I remember those. Those were huge back then. Some of the software that was coming out back in the .com era. They don't really, have that. I mean, they still have that kind of stuff, but it's not what it was. I mean, nothing comparable. I mean, during the .com era, you had, like all kinds of hardware and software and computer stuff. But nowadays, it's it's different. I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's much different or less. Oh yeah, and back in the 90s, they had this thing that was known as the cassette. Yeah, the old school cassette player or cassette tapes. And they also, back then, they also had VCRs. I know some of you, probably the older generation at least, remember or know about the VCR. That was big back then. And also I remember they had the pager. You would get these pages or whatever, and that was pretty huge too back then. The pager, you would get a page and stuff. They don't really have those anymore, or have that kind of thing anymore. But yeah. They also, I remember they had the old cell phones with, what was it? They had like the fold out or like the pull out antenna and stuff. So, yeah, this is just another one of those. This magazine is just another one of those old school things from the 90s. So, yeah.